Welcome to our ICT International Conference presentation for 2021. The theme of the conference reads Empowering People for a Better Normal. Our topic for consideration is Preparing a Nation for the New Normal, Teacher Implementation of Information, Communication and Technology at Primary School Level in Zimbabwe. The presenters are Mrs. Mo Blessing Mugandan from Zimbabwe, Professor Stella Mchemwa from Zimbabwe, and Professor Venzi Alida from the Philippines. Let me start by giving you the background of the study. Online teaching has been enforced by the COVID-19 pandemic. The task at hand might be easy with the developed world, but very challenging in the developing countries. In Zimbabwe, the primary schools, that is the basis for all education, are negatively affected. Let me move on to the delimitation of the study. The study investigated teacher implementation of ICT at primary school level in Gweru District in Zimbabwe. Researchers also focused on ICT implementation challenges, the effects of these challenges, and the possible mitigation measures. The study is based on the following theories. The first one is the motivation theory, then the self-efficacy theory, and then the last one is technology acceptance model. These theories were found very necessary in the study. Then let me move on to the justification of the study. Country planners, educationists, and students are likely to benefit from the study if they are exposed to it, especially when considering the scarcity of such researches at primary school levels. So the norm is we have many researches on ICT, especially at secondary and tertiary levels, but they are very limited at the grassroots levels, that is the primary school. But if we consider that primary level is the basis of all education, this study becomes very pertinent. Let me move on to research methodology. This qualitative research used a case study design. The researchers used open-ended questionnaires and interviews for data collection. A purposive sample of 28 participants from conveniently selected 4 primary schools in the district was used. The sample comprises 4 school heads and 24 teachers. 5 of the 24 teachers were drawn from each school. Data collected from both questionnaires and interviews was examined, coded, and classified accordingly, ready for evaluation and interpretation. Let me quickly move on to the research findings. The study found out that schools in Gweru District have computer labs. In fact, the 4 schools that were used, each of them had computer labs. The primary school teachers tried their best to implement ICTs in their instruction. However, a plethora of the challenges acutely limited their operations. Right, then the other findings, ICT implementation challenges. So the challenges that the teachers and the school heads faced in the implementation of ICT are as follows: lack of technological know-how and skills. So in fact, this lack of technological know-how affected both the teachers and the school heads, according to the findings of the study. Another problem is inadequate or functional technological resources. The interviews indicated that there were some donations from the government, from the Ministry of Education, in terms of technological equipment. However, most of these equipment were outdated, I can say. Then another challenge is of frequent power cuts in the schools. So the country is faced by power cuts, and then the schools are faced by power cuts, and you can imagine that it's in the urban areas, and you can also imagine the other side, that is the schools in the countryside. Then the research also exposed that there is limited support from administrators, school development committees, and the responsible ministry and government. Then, because of the challenges that I've already explained on, there are bad results. One of them is that teachers are forced to remain the old teacher using the monotonous teaching styles. Then another result, due to limited use of ICT, is inaccurate presentation. You can imagine that there are certain elements that needs accuracy, degrees to be measured, centimeters to be measured, but if it is not done by ICT equipment, then it can be inaccurate. Then there is also limited teaching materials. This is a scenario where you find teachers using the yellow pages, which they've been using since they graduated from the teachers' colleges. Then the obvious result is that due to these challenges, the teachers will just ignore and quit from incorporating ICTs in their teaching. I can conclude, the researchers concluded that ICT implementation is very low in Gweru Urban District, and there are many challenges that encountered the implementation of ICT. Because of this, there is very little learning during the COVID-19 lockdown phases. So the teachers have tried their best, but because of the challenges that they are facing, they are ignoring, they are no longer teaching. And those who are trying to teach, the teaching is not very effective. And there are even few. That means those teachers who are trying to teach using ICT under these conditions. Therefore, a lot of ICT preparation and development need to be done in the primary schools in Zimbabwe. You see, COVID-19, it's one pandemic, but there's a possibility of other related pandemics. So the ICT should be worked on. This needed to be done in order to abreast the country's education sector with the global technological development systems. So remember, even before the outbreak of COVID-19, the countries are trying to improve their technological teaching strategies. It means that it's necessary so that Zimbabwe will be not left behind. The study recommended teachers and school administrators to have ICT training in the form of in-service and staff development programs. The government can encourage private sector participation in ICT implementation, thus encouraging them to donate and to subsidize ICT gadget prices. The study also recommended the school administrators and SDCs to source funds and ICT resources from well-wishers and donors. Then the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education in Zimbabwe may also provide schools, the primary schools, with internet facilities. It's not easy, it's a challenge, but it needs to be done so that the implementation of ICTs in the primary schools can be realized. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you for your time.